Dr. Linda Restrepo is the CEO of Professional Global Outreach, a global research and economic development organization. Professional Global Outreach is bringing in senior executives and top-rated experts in support of global economic development in a series of podcasts. Professional Global Outreach presents an interview with Charles Brooks.
Hello, Professor Brooks. Thank you so much for being here today. Obviously, the method in which you incorporate artificial intelligence with cybersecurity is integral. It touches every industry we can imagine. We're in a new era. Certainly, connectivity and artificial intelligence play a huge role coming forward. So I'd like to discuss that today. Let's start with an explanation of what artificial intelligence and machine learning really are.
Good question. I mean, machine learning is a component of AI, just as natural language processing and others. Machine learning is really more prevalent right now. A lot of places call machine learning artificial intelligence. It's actually commonly referred to it now, so I use it interchangeably. But machine learning looks at patterns and learns from those patterns and correlates them. Artificial intelligence, when you look at the definition of where it's going, does more than that. It will predict, it will use correlations, it will analyze itself, it will look at other things. Eventually, there's a fear that it'll become sentient, that it will think for itself. I mean, I think we're pretty far away from that, but people like even Elon Musk are very worried about that because once you have a capability of someone controlling or machine controlling everything, it could wreak havoc, certainly throughout the globe. So that's a basic definition of artificial intelligence. But part of the problem with machine learning right now is that it doesn't have the contextual kind of capability. Sometimes, colloquial terms used by cultures will not mean the same thing. If it's clouds and raining, it may have a different interpretation of things too. It's just there's just different symbols and different algorithms that need to continually be refined, and you also deal with the issue of bias of who's programming those algorithms.
Chuck, everybody knows that the pendulum swings both ways with artificial intelligence. AI is not the domain of those working for good in technology advancement, but also malicious actors are now using it as a force multiplier.
Yeah, it's as good as they said. It's a double-edged sword. They're using it. Sophisticated hacker gangs are using it, and certainly nation states. We have it too to defend, and companies are using it. Casinos are using it. Obviously, government is using it. DoD, etc. But there's escalation issues too. If a nation state is caught using it to attack another state, it escalates into a different kind of scenario. So it's like a mutual assured destruction kind of balance right now with the technology. I think the fear right now is more from the criminal gangs who are just really trying to financially gain from it, mostly through phishing and ransomware attacks, and are doing quite well. And they've been targeting like a lot of hospitals, and healthcare, and educational institutions, places that don't have really good security. So I think it's just just like every other criminal enterprise, you're looking where the low-hanging fruit is.
With such cybersecurity threats out there, is it possible for anybody in corporate America to sleep at night?
Well, I don't know if we can sleep at night because of the threats to cyber. They're just as bad right now. If they could take out our critical infrastructure, we have no power. So, right now, I think I look at machine learning, artificial intelligence as an enabler, and something we need to do because the bad guys are doing it with the technology. Unfortunately, a lot of this has been shared on these web forums, and we have to respond. And it's difficult because the attacker always has an advantage. It only takes one element. And a good example of how they're doing it right now is with machine learning is they're automating phishing attacks where they'll send out tens of thousands of attacks on the network looking for vulnerabilities, and it really only takes a couple of it to be successful. So, and they're doing it with every company, every big company, every critical infrastructure company. So everyone's being targeted now. So you have to have the right defenses.
Do you think that people on their own have the capacity to detect a cybersecurity threat caused by artificial intelligence?
No, I think a machine will do that. There's it's difficult as a human to be able to have the vibe, like so the responsibilities of just looking at all the threats are very time consuming. There's already tools out there that help automate things, not necessarily artificial intelligence. Those are being used. Now they're being bolstered. So I think humans. I mean, it's almost they can oversee the technology, but to do it manually nowadays is just not feasible. So in terms of having a security operations center, you need people that understand the networks and the systems and the technology, but you also need people to have functions of know where to have a policy put in place for incident response, how to communicate threats, how to be able to bring in the right team to mitigate them. So there's it's very sort of complex environment right now. So people are still integral, but technology again is an enabler.
Do you think we're going to reach a point where a computer on their own will have the capacity to hack another computer?
A hacking machine?
One machine will be fighting another machine.
Oh yeah, I think that's going to happen. I think it may have already happened. I think there's certainly in scenarios it's been tested, but and there's all kinds of that I think that is not far off. I think that they're going to again machines are going to be limited. I think in what they can do, but the machines are going to be looking out for other machines. I'm going to put it that way.
Exactly. It's impossible for the human brain to respond to out-generated cybersecurity attacks when they come in so fast and furious. I think there are several problems. One is that a lot of companies and government agencies still use legacy. Legacy systems are quite vulnerable, but as you know, they're old, and the people who know to defend them are still there, utilizing old technology. They haven't moved on to new defenses.
I think the other big problem is just the dearth of cybersecurity experts out there, particularly technicians and workers that want to go in the field. And there's just so many threats, and the good ones are taken pretty quickly. The best way that the government is able to really deal with that is using the military people, and they're training them very well. But when they leave, they go out and get jobs. So it's an industry issue, and it's also a government issue, just having the right skill sets and knowledge and people. And to be fair, the transformational aspects of cybersecurity have happened so quickly over the last few years that it's a continual learning process. And some of the products, there's thousands of them out there. To be able to understand them, you almost have to be artificial intelligence yourself to be able to correlate them and segment them. But part of the problem now, I think, for our companies is that they have all these tools and programs and things available, and that sometimes they have too many of them, and the real problem becomes one of orchestration. So I think the real value now, and I think for cybersecurity experts, is not necessarily on the technical end of you need this technology or what. It's really helping companies create a framework, or individuals or governments, of what their vulnerability and gaps are and what they need to protect most. And do they need encryption? Do they need specialized firewalls? Do they have obviously backup data? Are their employees working remote? And then looking at the tools available, including machine learning and artificial intelligence, to be able to bolster them, because sometimes those are more effective to have from a managed service or from another company. But it's an area like where there's so much out there that it's difficult to consume all of it.